I remember in the early days of when Obama first started talking about this, he was at one of his town meetings, and there was an actual question asked by a doctor, and he said, will you pledge to the American people that if your plan goes through, that you and your family will be under it, and you will not use your political power to get yourself or your family better care than the average American? So Obama paused for, and I'd have to give him credit. He said, no, I won't promise that. So he
oh, boy. That should have awakened everybody, shouldn't it?
Yeah, well, of course, somehow the media don't talk about that, but of course that's right. None of these people, and I hear even the congressional staffers who wrote the bill are now being exempted from it.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just signed on to a bill that would change that, and not only for the members of Congress, but for all the staff people. They would have to get into the same system. But the politicians and the government officials, they tend to protect themselves all the time.
And I thought it's amazing, an amazing clarification of the whole Obamacare, as you've pointed out, that this bill hires another 16,500 IRS agents.
Yeah, they need to collect some more money. They're pretending that this isn't going to cost anything, but that it's been estimated that the hidden taxes has to be about $400 billion. But this idea that you can give 30 million people free medical care and actually save enough money to reduce the deficit is so preposterous. I think that helps just totally destroy their credibility. But just the whole idea that this depends on more thugs, more people coming along, more force, more violence. You know, they worry about the violence of anybody and everybody except the government, it seems. But that's what it is, government violence. That means IRS agents, they're going to carry guns, they're going to collect these, they're going to enforce these rules, and they're going to make sure everybody does what they're told.
Ron, I noticed that the Republicans, and of course the Republicans are saying they're going to repeal this. I noticed the Republicans, of course, have never repealed anything in the entire history of the Republican Party, and they all were for, except you and a few others, were all for Bush's crazy Medicare Part D expansion of the welfare state. But I noticed now they're going after you, maybe even talking about taking away your committee chairmanship or your ranking membership on the Monetary Policy Subcommittee in the next Congress, because you are one of the ones who would not go along with the moratorium on so-called earmarks. So what do you think? What is this about?
Well, that's been ongoing, but it seems to be coming to a climax. It's coming to a climax right now because the Republicans had said we were going to voluntarily not list any earmarks. Of course, my idea of an earmark is just designating how the spending should be done. And if the government robs the people with highway funds, it just seems logical to me that if there's a reasonable request, you as a member of Congress should request some of your money back and designate it for a particular highway. But that's called an earmark, and you're not supposed to do that. And they use this to pretend they're, really, really tight on the budget. If you're building an embassy in Baghdad, no, that's not an earmark. That doesn't count. Or a weapon system, that's not an earmark. It's only if you're bringing money back to the district. But my big argument there is the prerogatives of the Congress. The Congress has the responsibility. They've reneged on it, and over many, many decades, they keep giving up their responsibilities and their obligations, and they deliver this responsibility to the executive branch. And they're not bashful about that position. Many members of the Congress openly say, well, you have to have the president this power. They have to have the power to go to war and to arrest people and torture people and all these things. So I don't want to give them 1 ounce of authority or power, the executive branch, that is not given to them in the Constitution. So I've taken this very strong position saying, yes, we should designate more, not less, but we should vote against the spending because all the spending is very, very bad. The interesting that has happened on this, though, is since they sort of badgered all the members into this voluntary effort to not ever ask for an earmark, so many members have come to me now and they said, boy, I sure wished I'd have taken your position, because they know what it means, and they know that it doesn't make any sense, and now they know that there's actually a constitutional argument that could defend that position. So I don't think that thing is going to amount to anything, but it has been in print. Yesterday it was in print that the leadership has threatened that they would take subcommittee chairmanships away. But if that had been my goal in life and in the Congress, I wouldn't have taken a break. I'd have stayed. I'd have played their games. I'd have built up seniority, and I right now would qualify to be the chairman of the Financial Service Committee. But that would be despicable as far as I'm concerned, because you'd have had to toe the line and accommodate the bankers because they wouldn't let you do it anyway. So I just think this whole argument over the earmarks from the so-called fiscal conservatives is nothing more than a red herring.
Ron, I well remember when a foreign government operating through a very powerful Republican reached into the Congress and prevented you from being on a committee because you were against foreign aid. And, of course, the bankers have, in cooperation with the bad guys in the Republican Party, even abolished a subcommittee once to prevent you from being chairman of it. And, of course, that didn't affect your positions. You still stick to your positions. You still have your principles. And, obviously, this is not going to work either. And, in fact, I predict that if they try this, the whole Ron Paul movement is going to mobilize. And if they think they've seen anything with the Tea Parties, they better wait till they see that happen. And let me just emphasize again for people listening, earmarks do not increase spending. They're simply an allocation of spending. So the question is, from a constitutional standpoint, a division of power standpoint, should spending decisions be made by the Congress or by the bureaucrats in the presidential branch? And all these people who are attacking earmarks, as you say, are for the president being able to declare war on his own, torture people, declare Americans as enemy combatants and torture them, maybe kill them, assassinate them. So they believe in a presidential dictatorship. So your stance on the whole earmark question is just part and parcel of your opposition to presidential dictatorship.
Yeah. If you cut spending, every once in a while there will be a vote on cutting an earmark, and it does designate this must be cut in the spending, but it's very, very rare. Most of it means the money just goes to the executive branch and they make all the decisions.
Well, Dr. Ron Paul, you're an inspiration, and sure is great to have you on the show. And I want to remind everybody of your latest book, End the Fed. Take a look at all of Ron Paul's books. And, Ron, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much. Glad to be on your program.
Bye-bye. Ron, thank you.
You've been listening to The Lew Rockwell Show, produced by LewRockwell.com, the best-read libertarian website in the world. If you'd like to advertise on this podcast or on the website, email advertise@LewRockwell.com. And thanks for listening.